Why were we seeing 19th century farming? When the Soviet Union collapsed in 1991, Cuba lost its lifeline. No more cheap oil, no more tractor parts. The special period turned the sugar industry upside down. While Cuba had roughly 90,000 tractors in 1990, the lack of fuel rendered them useless. To save the sugar industry, the government mandated a return to animal traction. By the mid-1990s, the number of working oxen in Cuba surged from approximately 160,000 to over 400,000. The government issued a desperate decree: back to the ox. By 1998, there were over 400,000 oxen working the island. If you were at a certain mills, the collection points known as acopios weren't buzzing with modern loaders. They were filled with the creak of wooden carts. So it's 1998. In most of the world, the digital age is exploding. But here in the soil of Cuba's sugar belt, time hasn't just slowed down, it's gone into reverse. We're used to seeing the old American steam locomotives of the 1920s still hauling cane in Cuba. It's a rail fan's paradise. But look closer at the fields feeding those trains. In the late 90s, the real heavy lifting wasn't being done by diesel or even steam. It was being done by muscle and horn. The transition from field to mill relied on a unique hybrid of animal power and industrial machinery. The workflow was a hybrid of 2 centuries. It started with the macheteros, men cutting cane by hand. Then came the oxen. These teams moved the short haul from the heart of the field to the acopio, the collection point. This is the copio, or collection point. The oxen would pull the carts directly under a hoist. The bundles of cut cane were lifted up and then moved towards the rail cars. This wasn't a reenactment for tourists. This was the only way to keep the mills grinding. Imagine the logistics. A single ox cart carries maybe 2 to 3 tons. A steam engine can pull 10 to 20 cars, each holding 15 tons. To fill just one train, you needed a literal army of oxen working in the heat. The copio is the critical transshipment point where 19th century muscle met 20th century steam. In 1998, these were the gears that kept the industry turning when fuel ran dry. At the acopio, or the loading point, there were rail sidings and steel cranes located nearby. They use a mechanical hoist and grab to lift entire bundles of cane directly from the ox cart. The ox cart drives under the gantry. The cane is chained, lifted vertically, and the crane then lifts the load for further movement to the train car. A standard cart in the 1990s carried between 2 to 3 metric tons of whole stalk cane. High-wheeled wooden carts with removable side stakes allow for easy unloading at the hoist. The oxen team is yoked by the horns, which allows for better control in the muddy Cuban fields. The railroad cars were specialized rail wagons known as cage cars. They had slatted sides to hold loose cane. It is important to note that within a few days of harvest, cane will lose its sugar content. The need for quick transportation to a refining mill was thus imperative. By the late 90s, places like Bergnes became legendary. You could stand in one spot and see a 100-year-old locomotive, a 50-year-old American truck converted to run on rail, and a pair of oxen, all working the same harvest. It was a moment of ingenuity born of necessity. The oxen didn't need Russian oil, they just needed grass and water. They saved the harvest when the machines simply couldn't. Today, most of Cuban sugar mills are gone, restructured or closed. The steam engines are mostly static displays, but in the rural pockets of Cuba, you can still hear that creak of the cart. The oxen never really left. Thanks for riding along on this look at Cuba's special period. If you want to see more about Cuban railroads, check out our other episodes on Cuban steam. Hit subscribe, and we'll see you at the next sighting.